be sure to check out Rob Plays. There you can hang out with me while we play video games and talk about life stuff. So as promised, after looking over the various answers that you all provided in my video on the Joker's origins, what I've done here is grabbed what I consider to be the best fan theory on the identity of the three Jokers, which came from user Tim Boie. According to Tim, the three Jokers are actually the same person, but he has hailed from three different points in time. Beginning with Snyder's Pale Man, during the conclusion of his Batman trilogy, the events of Endgame alluded to the idea that the Joker had been around for over 100 years and had been considered a demon with pale skin, operating from the shadows and bringing with him different forms of chaos and death. While the various newspaper clippings as they were examined by Jim Gordon seemed to support this claim, Tim offered the argument that the Joker had encountered the Lazarus Pits long before the development of photography in newspapers, and that the identity of the Pale Man was given to him following his encounters with Native Americans who considered the Joker to be an evil spirit. As such, the Pale Man identity became something of myth and legend passed down from generation to generation, eventually making its way into the lives of American settlers who began to take up residence in the geographical area that would become Gotham City. As a result, with the exception of the Joker's appearances in newspaper clippings and testimony offered by word of mouth, nothing was known about the Joker's life prior to his encounter with Batman. To this end, Tim offered the idea that in the early 20th century, the Joker adopted the name of Edward Morgan Blake, and in 1939, joined a heroic group of humans calling themselves the Minutemen, all the while operating under the moniker of the Comedian. While Eddie's time with the Minutemen was short-lived due to his attempted sexual assault on Sally Jupiter, he fell into a life of crime fighting in New York Harbor using vigilante justice in a manner similar to Batman. While the life of Eddie would lead him down a spiral, in the events leading up to the Watchmen graphic novel, Eddie investigated an island owned by Adrian Veidt but was unable to process what he found. Encountering a former villain named Moloch in his home, Eddie began to ramble on in a drunken manner about what he had seen on Veidt's island and the end of humanity. However, with Eddie's conversation overheard by Veidt, the two engaged in a scuffle and the comedian was thrown out of a window where he fell to his death. Now, where this jumpstarts the Watchmen graphic novel, Tim argued that the entire chain of events was orchestrated by Joker as a means to kill off the comedian persona without concern that anyone would come looking for him. As a result, Joker took up the name Jack and attempted to live a normal life, engaging in a marriage with a woman named Jeannie and getting her pregnant. Where this would serve as the backstory as it was offered by Alan Moore in The Killing Joke, Tim argued that this was actually the Joker attempting to live a normal life free from the world of crime. However, as it was covered in my video on the Joker's origins, Joker himself was swept back into the world of crime after his wife and unborn child were murdered, then he was duped into acting as the Red Hood. As a result, and after encountering Batman at the Ace Chemicals lab, the Joker fell into the vat, his skin was turned bleach white, his hair was turned green, he completely gave in to his insanity and re-emerged as the Joker that we know today. Now, while most of this seems to be entirely disconnected and loosely brought together, Tim's entire theory hinges on one very important concept. At the conclusion of Grant Morrison's final crisis, which centered on the potential collapse of the multiverse, Batman had engaged in a battle with Darkseid but was thrown into the beginning of humanity's evolution after being blasted with Darkseid's Omega Sanction. As a result, Bruce Wayne began to scribble bat symbols on cave walls in an effort to keep his sanity and remind himself of who he truly was. Following this, and during the events of Batman: The Return of Bruce Wayne, writer Grant Morrison detailed Batman's journey through the time stream leading to the current day and featured the Cape Crusader encountering various individuals and significant moments from throughout the history of Earth. While this line of stories didn't explicitly center on the Joker, using the retcon from Scott Snyder, it could be argued that Batman's journey through time had unforeseen consequences, in that the Joker's life as the Pale Man would have allowed him to encounter these various Bat-related incidents and drawings. As a result, the Joker began an obsession with Batman that stretched over centuries, leading up to the two encountering one another during the events of Killing Joke, meaning that for the Joker, both he and Batman were something of myth and legend existing throughout history of humankind, with various societies offering their own explanations on the characters in an attempt to understand how they related to the real world. Now again, while this does seem a little contradictory, something to point out here is that with the New 52, Batman did not receive a reboot. Instead, DC offered the explanation that from the time Batman first appeared up until the current day, everything had happened over the course of 5 years, meaning that this particular bit of time travel is actually in continuity. With that being said, we're going to bring this to an end, and I actually thought this was a really good theory, so we're going to pose the question a second time, but this time, if you guys have YouTube channels on comics, make a video. Make a video giving me your theories on who you think the three Jokers are, and I'll actually spend all next week uploading those videos onto my YouTube channel. With that being said, I will catch you guys later. Peace.